Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So thank you so much if you've watched all of the other parts of the Ghislaine Maxwell deposition. I'm really pleased to say that we have all made it through, and this is the final part, part 8 of the Ghislaine Maxwell deposition. What I've done is put all of the appendices at the end of the narration, so you can have a look through those if you want to. I haven't kind of narrated those because that would be very, very long and boring, I think. But yeah, we've made it. It's the last part. So yeah, I've really, really enjoyed doing it. Let me know if you want me to do any more. I'm actually thinking I may do Virginia's. I've been having a little bit of a research, as I usually do. So yeah, that may be coming up. But if you do have any other cases that you're interested in, that you would like me to actually narrate, depositions, court documents, anything like that, then do leave a comment below and let me know. Otherwise, like and subscribe and enjoy the final episode, part 8 of Ghislaine Maxwell deposition. I don't know who Virginia's friends or family are, and I have not contacted anybody related to her in any way, shape or form. I will turn you, I believe it's the thicker document, which is Maxwell. I believe it was 14, right there. The compilation document to GM. At the bottom, GM 00071. You actually may want to turn to the prior page 70 so you can see the email chain at the top of the page. Mr. P. I don't have a 00071 on mine. Ms. Macaulay. It's the second page in that document. Mr. P. Okay. It's dated Friday, March the 11th, 2011, from Maxwell to Jeffrey with the title Daily Mail, and there is a forward from blank to you and a number of other individuals. That's on the cover page, and as you scroll to the second page, you are going to see that part of the chain that I'm asking about. And that is the chain at the bottom, which is dated the 3rd of the 10th, 2011, from blank. And it says, we should think about the letter to the editor. School can be university. Age of consent in Florida is complex. See below if you are 16 years old. A sexual relationship with someone between 18 and 24 is legal in Florida. Two persons between 16 and 24, Florida Statute 794.05. A person 24 years of age or older who engages in sexual activity with a person 16 or 17 years of age commits a felony in the second degree. So as soon as you turn 16, you are able to have sexual relations, and you can have sexual relations with a minor under the age of 18 until your 24th birthday. Why were you concerned with the age of consent in Florida? Objection. I wasn't concerned. I think this was somebody sending me the statute for informational purposes. Who is blank? He is the person who blank boss, I believe. I don't know what the relationship is. I didn't hear you. Blank, I'm not sure exactly. Why would he be sending you information addressing concerns about the age of consent in Florida? Objection. I think he was just trying to be telling me details that would happen. Virginia, in 11, was claiming she was 15 and we thought she was 17. I didn't know what the statutes were in Florida, and I think he was just trying to be helpful so I would know. Did you have a concern that you had violated this statute in Florida? Objection. No. Did you have a concern that Jeffrey Epstein had violated this statute in Florida? I'm not concerned what happened with Jeffrey. I'm only concerned what happens with me. Why did you communicate with blank blank about the sexual consent age in Florida? Objection. It misstates her testimony. I wasn't concerned. I think he was being helpful and stating what the statute was. I'm going to turn you now in that same stack the Bates number GM00088. At the top of the email you are going to see Jeffrey Epstein, dated June the 8th, 2011, to you, and it's got a reline, Vanity Fair. If you go down the chain, you will see where it says under your email, do you have a problem with anything I said? Were you communicating with Jeffrey to confirm what statements you could put in any press releases you were given? Objection. Any interest I have is in accuracy. Were you confirming with Jeffrey Epstein what information you could put in a press release? Objection. Again, I'm only looking for accuracy. Why would you ask him if he had a problem with anything you were saying? If there is anything I characterised that was not correct. That's not what you said. You said, do you have a problem with anything I said? Objection. There is no question pending. Ms. Macaulay, there is. Mr. P, that's not a question, it's a statement. Ms. Macaulay, don't interrupt me. Did you say, do you have a problem with anything I said? That was asking, in my parlance, that I wanted him to check it for accuracy. Did he tell you there was anything inaccurate about the statement? Again, I have to read the whole thing to figure that out. Were you coordinating with Jeffrey Epstein during this time period in 2011 regarding statements that you were issuing to the press? Mr. P, did you withdraw the last question? Ms. Macaulay, I'm not withdrawing anything, I'm asking a question. Mr. P, there was a question pending. You didn't let the witness answer the question. Then you moved on to another question. So I'm asking for clarification for the record now. Which question are we answering? Ms. Macaulay, there is an answer. The question was, did he tell you anything? There was anything in the statement inaccurate about the statement, and she said again, I read the whole thing. The witness, I would have to... Ms. Macaulay, I would have to read the whole thing to figure that out. Mr. P, then she started reading it and you asked another question. Ms. Macaulay, that's the question. Mr. P, I'm wondering if it's still pending. Ms. Macaulay, it was answered. Were you coordinating with Jeffrey Epstein during the time period in 2011 regarding the statements you were issuing to the press? Objection. I only wanted to be accurate in any factual statements that I made. You knew at the time that Jeffrey Epstein had been convicted for sexual abuse of a minor, is that correct? Objection. He was sentenced, I believe, for underage, soliciting an underage prostitute. You knew that he was a registered sex offender? Yes. You were coordinating with him the statement that you were going to be making to the press to confirm whether they were accurate in your words. Objection. I was not coordinating with Jeffrey. He had details that I did not have. I was not party to his case. I needed to have information in order to be able to respond, so I was not coordinating with him. I was merely asking for details that I could have. Did Jeffrey write any of your press statements for you? No. He didn't draft any of them. I have a lawyer who was working on this, and that was... I believe, as I recollect, asked him for information to make sure I was being accurate in the representations for whatever I was discussing. Did Jeffrey provide you with any drafts of statements to provide to the press? I only recall drafts from my lawyer. I will mark this as Maxwell 17. Maxwell Exhibit 17, email marked for identification. This is an email from you on January the 10th, 2015 to blank blank. The statement you had before you earlier, that, if you can pull that in front of you, the one-page press release that you gave, you might know from memory. Was the press release that you issued with the statement about Virginia issued in or around January the 2nd, 2015? As best as I can recollect. I want to turn your attention to the document I just handed you, which is Bates's number 001044. From you to blank blank. It says in the first sentence, I'm out of my depth to understand defamation, other legal hazards, and I don't want to end up in a lawsuit aimed at me from anyone, if I can help it. Apparently even saying Virginia is a liar has hazards. You knew at the time you called Virginia a liar in early January of 2015 that was something that would result in a lawsuit. Is that correct? Objection. I have legal advice that I took. But you knew in early January by making a statement calling Virginia a liar that you were subjecting yourself to a legal dispute with her. Objection. I took legal advice as to what should be said and not be said, and the legal advice that came from the United Kingdom was, Mr. P, you are not allowed to talk about any legal advice that you got from anybody that's a lawyer. Sorry. So, is it correct, without telling me what you talked to your lawyers about, that you knew, because this is dated January the 10th, that when you made this statement in early January, January the 2nd of 2015, you knew that calling Virginia a liar would subject you to a legal action? Isn't that correct? Objection. As to what you knew, whatever she knows would be privileged. Ms. Macaulay, I'm asking if she knows. I'm not asking her to tell me about her privileged communications. All I can say is I asked a question and received legal advice. Maxwell, Exhibit 18, email marked for identification. This is an email dated January the 15th, 2015 from Jeffrey Epstein to you. It states in the first line, do you want blank to come out and say she was the girlfriend during the time? Mr. P. Objection. The question and actually the word is blank. There is no vowel in there. Ms. Macaulay. I was just trying to pronounce it. This email reads, do you want blank without a vowel to come out and say she was the girlfriend during the time? Who was Jeffrey Epstein referring to? I believe he was referring to blank. Why was he asking you if you wanted blank to come out and say she was the girlfriend? Objection. The way the press and you were characterising me is I was with Jeffrey throughout this entire period of time, and I was not. Was blank with Jeffrey during this period of time? I believe she was. Did Jeffrey come out and tell the press it was blank and not you that was with him as he is proposing here? I don't believe he did. Did you want him to do that? No, I didn't ask him to do anything, no. So, do you know in January of 2015, was blank his girlfriend? 2015, I have no idea who was his girlfriend in 2015. I'm sorry, you are correct. In the period of 1999 to 2002, was blank his girlfriend? They spent a lot of time together. Did you talk to blank about going to the press and saying that she was the girlfriend and not you? I have never spoken to blank. Was blank offered any money to make a statement that she was the girlfriend? Objection. I have no idea. I have never spoken to blank and I don't know anything. I have no idea. Maxwell, Exhibit 19, email marked for identification. That's an email from Jeffrey to Maxwell dated January the 25th, 2015. I will direct your attention to the bottom email, which is from you on Saturday, January the 24th, 2015. It says, I would appreciate it if blank would come out and say she was your girlfriend. I think she was from the end of 99 to 2002. Does that refresh your recollection that you asked Jeffrey to have blank come out and say she was his girlfriend? I'm sure I would loved anybody to come out and say they were with Jeffrey rather than me. Was that an accurate statement you were asking to be made to the press? Objection. When is this? 2015. The statement is whether she was the girlfriend from 99 to 2002, as the email reads. What is your question? My question is, was that an accurate statement you were going to be giving to the press? I didn't make the statement and blank never came out, so it's completely moot. My question is, was it an accurate statement that blank was the girlfriend from 99 to 2002, or were you just making that up for purposes of deflecting press from you? Objection. As I said, they spent a lot of time together, and were you also his girlfriend from 99 to 2002? I don't if I would have ever characterised myself as his girlfriend, but blank at that time was with him as much, if not more, than I was. I will mark this as Maxwell 20. Maxwell Exhibit 20, email marked for identification. This is an email at the top. It's Bates's labelled 001060. At the top is a chain from Jeffrey to you on January the 11th, 2015. And if you look below, I'm going to start at the bottom of that chain, which is January the 11th at 9:15 from Jeffrey, and he wrote, blank, do you have an article coming out in Monday's paper? If so, could you please forward us a copy? Do you know what blank Jeffrey was referring to there? I don't know. If you look up in the email chain, do you see an email address from blank responding to that letter? I do. So that would be blank that Jeffrey was emailing at that time, according to this chain, correct? It certainly looks like it. The email from blank to Jeffrey is, nothing on Monday. I'm working on several possible articles about unfairness in the legal process that allows false charges to be inserted into legal documents with no opportunity to respond. And do you see the above that Jeffrey's email to you says, quote, careful? Is that to me or to blank? Jeffrey to blank at the top. Why was Jeffrey telling you to be careful? Objection. I have no idea. What was he concerned about with blank? Suggestion in the email below. Objection. I can't possibly know. Did you discuss with him why he told you to be careful? I had limited contact with him. I don't recall where this goes in the chain. Why he was telling me to be careful, I have no idea. Did you respond to this email? If you don't have it, I didn't respond. Did you ever delete emails during the period of January of 2015? I have every email that you asked for in Discovery that I gave you. That's not my question. Did you ever delete emails in January of 2015? I have not deleted anything that you have asked me for in Discovery. I have given you everything that I have. That is not my question. My question is, did you ever delete emails in January of 2015? In the normal course of my work, there are emails from spam that I delete. That is the type of email I've deleted. Anything that is material to what you want, I have not deleted. How do you know that? Well, anybody that's to do with Jeffrey or blank or women or anything of which I know you were interested in, of which I have anything I would not have done because I don't want to subject myself to. Have you had your computer forensically copied for purposes of this litigation? Objection. Has someone made a copy of your computer for purposes of this litigation? No. Are you a citizen of the United States? I am. Are you also a citizen of England? I am. Are you a citizen of any other land? Terramar. That's the name of your charity project that deals with oceans, is that correct? Yeah, I'm French as well. Has Jeffrey Epstein funded Terramar for you? He did give some money to Terramar, yes. How much? I believe it was $50,000. Earlier today, you said you were in the process of resolving the sale of your townhome. Where do you intend to live once your townhome is sold? That's a good question. I don't have an answer for you yet. You don't have a present plan. Do you intend to live in the United States? I don't have a present plan. Are you living outside of your townhome right now, or are you still there? I'm just couch surfing. Has Jeffrey Epstein ever purchased a company for you or put a company in your name? Objection. I have no recollection. Is there a Ghislaine Maxwell Corporation, for example? No, not that I'm aware of that has anything to do with me. There may be with one that someone else owns or started, but not one that is related to me. Ms. Macaulay, I'm going to take a short break and make sure to keep it short because I know you wanted to. I just want to wrap up what we have left. Videographer. It's now 5:49. We are off the record. Recess. Videographer. It's now 6 p.m. and we are back on the record. Ms. Maxwell, do you recall being subpoenaed for a deposition back in 2009? I do. Why did you avoid giving your deposition in that case when you were subpoenaed and had the opportunity to tell your side of the story? Objection. That's not what happened. What happened? As I best recall, I was subpoenaed and a date was set for the subpoena and everything was set, and I believe it was with Brad Edwards, correct me if I'm wrong, and Brad Edwards failed to show up for the subpoena. So your testimony is Brad Edwards did not show up for the deposition that had been set. Correct. Did you give any statement that your mother was ill and therefore you couldn't take your deposition and had to leave the country indefinitely? That's an entirely separate situation. Brad Edwards was involved in the blank. I believe you know is when fake suits were created in Jeffrey's case and blank, blank, and Brad Edwards worked for that firm. And Mr. Edwards worked for that firm. So when the subpoena came, Brad Edwards was involved with blank in the case. So when I was called for subpoena, then, and I had a subpoena, date and time set, Brad Edwards went AWOL, meaning he failed to respond to calls and failed to get in touch with my attorneys, even though a date and time was set for the subpoena. And so that's what's happened to that subpoena. It just didn't happen. We may be talking about two different cases, so I'll ask the question again. Was there ever a time where you were subpoenaed to sit for a deposition that you could not make it because you said that your mother was ill? So that is the same subpoena that Brad Edwards failed to turn up for. And then I think 5 or 6 months passed between. A period of time, I can't characterise it exactly. A period of time passed where then he resurfaced and asked for a new subpoena to be, a new time to be set, and because he had contacted the press and done all sorts of things that you guys are familiar with, I believe it was my lawyer suggested that I should have some sort of protective order. And I believe between the time for when Brad Edwards resurfaced after the blank blank for creating fake cases in Jeffrey's and other people's cases, in between the time when they were trying to figure out the protective situation for me. My mother was sick, she is 89, she was 89 at that time, so we all have parents, so anyone, I don't know how old your parents are, but any parent or godparent, any individual who is in the late 80s, 90s, we can understand has health issues. So my mother's health was deteriorating very rapidly at that time, and we had issues at home with who she would talk to and how to manage her healthcare situation, and so I went home. They were still arguing about the protective order. Is it your testimony that there was not a date set for your deposition at the time you left to go to see your mother? I don't believe so. Are you friends with the blank? I am. Did you attend a wedding of blank blank a few weeks after the date was set? Let's say a few weeks after you left to go to see your mother who was ill. I don't recall exactly when I left, but it was before, a few weeks before. I don't remember the exact timing of that, so I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question? Did you come back to the United States to attend blank wedding? I attended blank wedding, but I don't know if I came back specifically for that or not. When we were looking at the flight logs earlier, there was a flight where you ended up in blank. I believe it was in blank. Do you know how you got clearance to land at that blank? I need to have a look at whatever document. It's one of the flight logs. It was on the flight with blank when we were talking about you landed at blank. I know you are a pilot. Do you know what you had to do to get clearance to land at that naval base? Mr. P, if you need to look at something to answer the question, you can. If you can't answer the question without looking at something, just indicate such. Regardless, I wouldn't have any knowledge of that. Was blank travelling with you on the flights you were on with blank? I would have to look at a document. I wouldn't know if she was on all of them or not. I don't know. Do you recall her being on any of them? To the best of my recollection, I think she was. I don't recollect exactly what flight she was on or not. Blank was one of the co-conspirators physically in the non-constitution agreement. Is that correct? Objection. I have never seen the document, but my understanding, I believe, is that she was. Did you ever stay the night ever at blank house? Blank. Have you ever stayed the night there? In his home, blank. Yes. I don't believe I did. Are you aware of anybody providing Jeffrey with two 12-year-old girls as a birthday present? Objection. No. Are you aware of anybody ever providing Jeffrey with French girls under the age of 18 as a birthday present? Objection. No. Do you know whether blank provided girls under the age of 18 to Jeffrey for the purposes of sex? Objection. The answer is no. I don't know anything about that. Did you ever witness blank blank bringing girls under the age of 18 to any of Jeffrey's residences? Objection. I don't recollect blank coming to the house with girls, period. Do you, when I say house, I'm including the US Virgin Island home. Do you recollect blank bringing foreign girls under the age of 18 to the US Virgin Island house? I don't recollect anything like that. Do you know how Jeffrey Epstein made his money? No. Was blank one of his clients? I have no idea. What do you know about the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and blank blank? Are you talking today? Yes, today. I have no idea. Do they have a business relationship? I have no idea. Did they have a business relationship during the time that you were working for Jeffrey Epstein? I believe in the 90s when I was there they had a business relationship. Did they have any other kind of relationship? Objection. The only relationship I'm aware of is the business relationship. Do you know why blank sold the New York house or gave the New York house to Jeffrey, if you know? Objection. I know nothing about that transaction. Can you list for me all the girls that you have met and brought to Jeffrey Epstein's house that were under the age of 18? Objection. I could only recall my family members that were there, and I could not make a list of anyone else because that list, it never happened that I can think of. I'm talking about the time you were working for Jeffrey Epstein. Can you list all girls that you found for Jeffrey Epstein that were under the age of 18 to come work for him in any capacity? Objection. I didn't find the girls. You choose the word. Mr. P. If you have a question, ask it. You don't choose the word. List all of the girls you met and brought to Jeffrey Epstein's home for the purposes of employment that were under the age of 18. Objection. I've already characterised my job was to find people, adults, professional people, to do the jobs I listed before. Pool person, secretary, house person, chef, pilot, architect. I'm asking about individuals under the age of 18, not adult persons, people under the age of 18. I looked for people or tried to find people to fill professional jobs in professional situations. So Virginia Roberts was under the age of 18, correct? I think we've established that Virginia was 17. Is she the... Sorry, go ahead. Is she the only individual that you met for purposes of hiring someone for Jeffrey that was under the age of 18? Objection. Mischaracterises her testimony. I didn't hire people. I said met. I interviewed people for jobs, for professional things. And I'm not aware of anyone, aside from now Virginia, who clearly was a masseuse, age 17, but at least that's how far we know, that I can think of that fulfilled any professional capacity for Jeffrey. List all the people under the age of 18 that you interacted with at any of Jeffrey's properties. I'm not aware of anybody that I interacted with, other than obviously Virginia, who was 17 at this point. Maxwell, Exhibit 21, email marked for identification. I'm showing you what's been marked as Maxwell 21. It's an email dated January the 21st, 2015, from Jeffrey to you. Is that... You can take a moment to take a look at it. Is that a statement that Jeffrey Epstein wrote for you to be issued to the press? Objection. The question was, is this a statement that Jeffrey Epstein wrote for you to be issued to the press? Same objection. Is there any other emails that you have that surround this that would allow me to know what? Does this have any context? These were produced by your counsel, so to extent there are emails that surround this. This is what we were given. Okay, I don't know whether he wrote this. Obviously he wrote this and sent this to me. I don't know if this is a phone call we had. I can't recollect exactly. Do you know if this was issued to the press, this statement? The only press statement that was issued is the one that you have. When the paragraph refers to you being in a very long-term committed relationship with another man, who was that other man? You don't have to answer the question. Ms. Macaulay, I'm asking the identity of a witness in a statement she is giving. Mr. P. She didn't give the statement. Ms. Macaulay. Jeffrey is writing to her. I'm asking who is he is referencing to a long-term relationship. You are going to refuse to let her answer that question. Mr. P. Yes. Ms. Macaulay. I would like to state for the record he is refusing to allow her to identify a potential witness in this litigation. So, we will be back to get the answer to that question. Do you recall when you were travelling with Virginia Roberts that you would be responsible for holding her passport? Objection. I already testified I don't recall travelling with Virginia. Do you recall whether Jeffrey Epstein, when he was travelling with a minor, someone under the age of 18, someone would hold their passport? Objection. I couldn't testify to what Jeffrey did or didn't do. You never observed him gathering a minor's passport and holding it during one of the trips you were on? I don't have a recollection of that. Are you familiar with a company called Hyperion Air, Inc.? I am. Is that a company you are affiliated with? No. Is that a company that Jeffrey owns? I knew it back in 2001, back when I was working. I have no idea what that is today. What about JEGE? Are you familiar with that company? JEGE Inc. I don't recall it. You don't recall? It vaguely rings a bell. I don't remember what it relates to. What about J. Epstein Virgin Islands Foundation Inc.? Are you familiar with that company? No. How did J. Epstein and Company Inc.? Again, I don't recall his business names and affiliations. How about NES LLC? Are you familiar with that name? Again, I think that was one of his businesses, but I don't recall. Do you know what that business did? I don't. How about New York Strategy Group Inc.? I don't know. What about Ghislaine Maxwell Company? Are you familiar with that company? I never heard of that. Is that a company you are on record as being either a board member or having a position of authority in? Objection. I've never heard of that business. What negative, unflattering, private or potentially embarrassing information does Jeffrey Epstein know about you? Objection. I imagine none. Does he have any knowledge of any illegal activity that you have conducted? Objection. If you want to ask Jeffrey questions about me, you would have to ask him. Have you ever been involved in any illegal activity in your lifetime? Objection. I can't think of anything I have done that is illegal. Have you ever been arrested? I have a DUI in the UK a long time ago. Is that the only arrest you have on your record? Yes. I will mark as Maxwell 22 this email. Maxwell Exhibit 22 email marked for identification. This is dated January the 21st, 2015. It's from Jeffrey Epstein to you. Forwarding The Guardian, and I would like you to look at the chain of emails so you understand have an appreciation for who is on this. It's a 3-page document. The bottom of the email appears to be a message from, at the very bottom, there is a signature block for blank, 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 and above that, there is a message from a blank, blank, blank. Do you see that? Uh-huh. Do you know who blank is? I do not. Above that, there is a message from blank and you, and it says, so this isn't getting better, latest from our chums at The Guardian, and above that you will see on January the 21st an email from you where you wrote, see below. And right above the chain, you will see Jeffrey Epstein to you on January the 21st, and his statement to you is, this will now end, but I think a dismissive statement is okay. What did he mean by his statement? This will now end. Objection. I have no idea. Did you discuss with him what he meant by the statement, "This will now end"? I don't recall. Was he taking any action to ensure that, quote, "this will now end"? I have no idea. Maxwell, Exhibit 23, email marked for identification. This is an email from, if you look at the chain at the top, you will see it's from you to Jeffrey on January the 27th, and the email at the bottom of the chain is from Jeffrey to you on January the 27th. He states, "What happened to you and your statement? Question mark. Question mark. And you put at the top, I have not decided what to do." Why was Jeffrey interested in you making a statement to the press? Objection. I don't know that he was interested. We made a statement and then I was being advised to make an additional statement and I never did. Was Jeffrey communicating with you regularly on what additional statement you might make? Objection. No, I've communicated with him very little as possible. Why did you feel you had to keep him informed of statements you were making to the press? Objection. I didn't feel I had to. Then, why you were communicating with him about statements you were making to the press? Objection. Insofar as this is the case, it's really all about Jeffrey. It's not a case about me. In 2009, did you direct your lawyer, either directly or indirectly, to tell Brad Edwards that you were unavailable to attend a deposition? Objection. And this is a privileged communication, as I understand the question, what someone said or didn't say to their lawyer, so don't answer the question. Can you answer that question without revealing a privileged communication? Can you ask the question again? In 2009, did you direct your lawyer to tell Brad Edwards that you were unavailable to attend a deposition? Same instruction. Did you make any statement in 2009 to anybody that you were unavailable to attend a deposition? My mother was sick, and I don't recall exactly the sequence of events, but what sequence of events do exist was handled by my lawyers. What is your understanding of Jeffrey Epstein's non-prosecution agreement? I have no idea. Do you have an understanding of the co-conspirators listed in the non-prosecution agreement? Objection. I have no knowledge of his agreement, whatever that is. Do you know, you mentioned earlier today that blank was one of the listed co-conspirators. Do you know who the other co-conspirators are in the non-prosecution agreement? Objection. I do not know. What did Jeffrey Epstein tell you about the non-prosecution agreement? I don't think I've ever discussed it with him. How did you come to learn that blank was covered by the non-prosecution agreement? I believe I read it in the press. Did you have any discussions with blank about the non-prosecution agreement? I have not had any discussions with blank. When is the last time you spoke to blank? Maybe 2005, 2006 maybe? And same with blank? When is the last time you recall speaking with blank? Probably even more time before that. Maybe. I've never had communications really with blank. I'm sorry I didn't hear that. I never had communications with her. You were working for Jeffrey at the same time blank was also working for Jeffrey. Isn't that correct? I didn't know what blank did for Jeffrey, so I didn't characterise what her relationship or work or not was, and I was still helping him with his construction projects and the like, but I never crossed paths with blank. What did you think blank was doing for Jeffrey? I have no idea what blank was doing for Jeffrey. Did you observe blank at any of Jeffrey's houses while you were there? She was at the house on occasion. What would she be doing there? I have no idea. Did you know if she lived at his houses? I have no idea. Did you ever go into a bedroom and see her belongings at one of the houses? Not that I recall, no. I'm going to mark this as Maxwell Exhibit 24. Maxwell Exhibit 24, email marked for identification. You can see at the top of the first page, which is GM0001. It's dated January the 3rd, 2015, from you to the blank. Is that blank who we referred to today? Yes. And can you tell me, it says, have some info, call me when you have a moment. What is redacted there? I don't recall, I'm sorry. Do you know why there is a redaction on this document? You would have to confer with my lawyers. What did you discuss on that call? I don't have any specific knowledge of the call. So the call is being made on Saturday, January the 3rd, 2015. Objection. The document states, it's Saturday, January the 3rd, 2015. You issued your press release on January the 2nd, 2015. Were you discussing with blank blank the subject of Virginia Roberts during these calls? Objection. I don't know if I spoke to him. I would like you to turn to GM0002 at the bottom chain, says blank. Saturday, January the 3rd to blank, and he says, let me know when we can talk. Got some specific questions to ask you about Virginia Roberts. Do you recall having a conversation with blank about Virginia Roberts in or around early January of 2015? I don't know if we actually spoke. Did you ever speak to blank about Virginia Roberts after you issued your statement on January the 2nd, 2015? I know that we did speak at some point, but I don't recollect when we spoke. What did you talk about? Just what a liar she is. What did he say to you? What a liar she is. Did he tell you why he thought she was a liar? I don't think he told me why she was a liar. The substance of everything that she said was a lie with regards to him. What did you say to him? She is a liar. That was the whole conversation. It was, you said to him, she is a liar, and he said to you, she is a liar. And did you discuss any of the details about what those lies were? I don't recollect. Was that only one conversation you had? I don't recollect. I don't recollect actually the conversation, but other than we both said she was a liar. Do you regularly communicate with blank? Objection. What do you mean by regularly? Do you email with him once a month, once every 2 months, or text him or call him? No, we are not in that type of regular touch. Do you travel with him regularly? I don't know. I have travelled with him. We have travelled together, but regularly is not a correct characterisation. Do you travel with him more than once a year? There is no standard. There is no set pattern. The answer to that was no. Have you ever observed him with any underage, any women, female, under the age of 18, interacting that's not a child or a family friend, interacting for the purposes of a sexual relationship with that individual? Objection. I've never seen blank interact in any way of that nature. Have you ever gone to dinner with him with any individual under the age of 18 that's not a family member or friend of yours that is under the age of 18? Objection. We've been to dinner all the time. I am not sure who is at dinner with us. I can't testify to that. Has he ever brought a female under the age of 18 that's not a relative of his? He has children. I said not relatives. I can't possibly testify to who he comes to dinner with. I wouldn't recall. To your knowledge, has he ever had a relationship with any female under the age of 18 for purposes of a romantic relationship to your knowledge? I can't testify to blank relationship. You haven't observed that? No. Have you talked to blank about coming to testify at trial in this case? No. When was the last time you communicated with blank? 1994, 95. I believe earlier, did you say that when is the last time you've been to his home in blank? I said you asked me if I stayed the night. I'm asking you a different question. When is the last time you have been to his home in blank? Roughly the same time. In the middle of the 90s sometime. Mid-90s. Not in the years 2000, 2002? Mid-90s. Have you ever communicated with any representative of blank? Objection. I mean, I've been to his in the mid-90s. I would have communicated with people who worked for him. Have you communicated with blank blank about this case? No. Have you ever seen a topless female at any one of Jeffrey Epstein's properties? Objection. You've asked this question, by the way, earlier on today. Again, I testified that there are people who, from time to time, in the privacy of a swimming pool, have maybe taken a bikini top off, or something, but it's not common, and certainly when I was at the house, I don't really recollect seeing that kind of activity. Have you ever smoked cigarettes? Yes. Have you ever smoked cigarettes with Virginia Roberts? I don't recall smoking cigarettes with Virginia Roberts. I'm marking this as Maxwell 25. Maxwell Exhibit 25, email marked for identification. I'm showing you what has been marked as Maxwell 25. This is an email dated January the 11th, 2015 at the top. Do you see that? That from Jeffrey to you. And then below there is an email from blank to you and CCing blank on January the 11th, 2015. Do you see that? It says, Dear Ghislaine, as you know, I've been working behind the scenes and this article comes from that. It helps but doesn't answer the VR claims. I will get the criminal allegations out. This shows the MOS will print truth, not just a VR voice piece. We can only make the truth by making a statement. What did he mean when he said, I will get the criminal allegations out? What was he referring to? Objection. I have no idea. Were there criminal allegations about Virginia that either your lawyer or blank were leaking to the press? Objection. I have no idea. Did you ask him what he meant when he said, I will get the criminal allegations out? I don't recollect the conversation. Did you direct him to leak to the press criminal allegations about Virginia Roberts? I already testified that I have no knowledge of what you are asking me. Were you copied on this email, correct? I was. Did Jeffrey Epstein assist in obtaining information about criminal allegations relating to Virginia Roberts? Objection. I have no recollection. Did blank assist in obtaining information regarding criminal allegations of Virginia Roberts? Objection. I have no knowledge of that. Did you ever discuss that with blank blank? Discuss what? Criminal allegations about Virginia Roberts. I don't believe I have. Have you ever discussed allegations relating to... Do you know if Jeffrey Epstein had any relationship with the US government either working for the CIA or the FBI in his lifetime? Objection. I have no knowledge of that. Do you know if Jeffrey Epstein has any friends that are in the CIA or FBI? Objection. I have no idea. Are you aware of an investigation of Jeffrey Epstein in the early 80s relating to the SEC? Objection. I have no knowledge of that. Are you aware that Jeffrey Epstein has told people that he worked for the government to recover stolen funds? Objection. I don't recall conversations about that. Has he ever told you that he worked for the US government? I don't recollect that. You don't recollect, or has he never told you that? I have no knowledge. I don't recollect him telling me he worked for the government. Does Jeffrey Epstein have any affiliation with the Israeli government? Objection. I have no knowledge of that. Do you know if he ever performed any work for the Israeli government? I have no knowledge of that. Have you ever visited Israel with Jeffrey Epstein? I'm sorry, I don't recollect. You've seen the flight logs that I provided you today. Are there, during the time you worked for Jeffrey Epstein, were there times that you flew on commercial flights rather than Jeffrey Epstein's planes? Yes. How often did that occur? Decently. Were there other flights that you recall flying on with Jeffrey Epstein that were on flights that where blank was not the pilot? Blank was not always the pilot. How many planes did Jeffrey Epstein have during the time you were with him? Objection. So you need to give me a date range. During the time period of 1992 through when you left your employment, which I think you said was in 2009. So in the 90s he had one plane, and at some point in the 2000s he had two planes, but I can't testify to anything past 2002, 2003. What happened to his planes after that? Do you know what travel agency, if any, Jeffrey would use when he would send someone, for example, you or one of his other employees, on a flight somewhere? Did he use a particular travel agency to make those arrangements? I don't recall. Were you ever responsible for making those arrangements for other individuals? I don't recall making flight arrangements. Was it a New York travel agent that you would use for those arrangements? Again, we are talking 16, 17, 18 years. I just don't recall anything to do with travel agents. Would Jeffrey Epstein ever fly, for example, blank on a commercial flight to meet you in New Mexico? Objection. I can't testify to that. Do you recall a trip where you met blank in New Mexico? No, I don't recall any Pacific trip. No. Why would you be sent to New Mexico? Is there a reason why you would go there in the course of the work you were doing for Jeffrey? Objection. I was never sent. I had a job to do and I would have to go to New Mexico for work. Would blank assist in that project? Objection. No, the project was largely complete by the end. I don't remember the dates exactly, but it was largely complete by the 1990s, 2000s. Do you know why blank would be going to New Mexico to meet you? Objection. I don't know. She worked for Jeffrey. Mr. P. I think we are out of time, counsel. Videographer. It's true. Ms. Macaulay. I will state for the record there were questions today that remain unanswered because the witness has been instructed not to answer those questions, and we will be raising our objections with the court to be able to have those questions answered in the near future. Mr. P. So we are clear, we are designating this entire deposition as confidential under the protective order. That would cover the paralegal who's been present, as well as the court reporter and the videographer, and all the lawyers in the room. Videographer. This concludes today's proceedings. We are off the record at 6:43 p.m. Time noted 6:43 p.m.